Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Logically Remonstrate. So today we're going to talk about Resident Evil, the second half, and we're also going to talk about how bad the show is, and we're also going to talk about these big journalism websites like Gamespot and IGN because they're full of shit and it's a bunch of beta male cucks that review shit on there, and I will tell you why. So first, we're looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score because Rotten Tomatoes is where the true fans get their voices heard and sometimes silenced as well. But for example, critics don't like this shit, so they're not going to silence this because this is a truly awful show. So average tomato meter is 51% for critics. And if you actually click on it and you can read some of the shit they say, bunch of bullshit, and then we can go here. And we can go top critics, and it drops down to 43%. Holy shit, that's terrible if you ask me. But the audience average or the average audience score, I'm having a stroke, is at 26%, which is extremely low for the Resident Evil universe. Oh well, hey look, Barry, that's a good show. Watch that instead of this shit. All right, so let's go to the next tab I have here. Which is Forbes, because the show doesn't deserve a second season, and Forbes is even talking about it. Resident Evil Season 2 on Netflix feels increasingly unlikely to happen, which I agree with, and I can't wait for it to not to get a second season. They're talking about that it's a potentially a high cost to fix this shit, and people don't like it. It says critics don't like it. The Witcher, which is, I agree, it has 81%, and The Witcher on Netflix is a good show that deserves to be watched, and that is a good show for Netflix to get increasingly numbers of subscribers. And Resident Evil isn't one of them. That's actually one of the shows that will make people leave Netflix. Audience hate it even more. This is not some issue where critics hate something fun. Audience are much more tolerant. Resident Evil has some of the lowest audience scores I've ever seen of any series on Netflix. 26% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 3.7 on IMDb. Resident Evil fans really dislike the original take on the universe and rated it lower than an endless string of blockbuster movies. Non-fans are either ignoring it or don't like it either. Yes, Forbes, you understand. This show doesn't know what it wants to, who the show is for. It's not for the original fans of the Resident Evil show, and it's not for the non-fans either, because they're ignoring it because they know it's bad as well. Now, that being said, you have to pick your audience. Do you want the Resident Evil fans? Do you want Resident Evil fans to like this show? Resident Evil is a huge name, and Resident Evil fans hate it. So, yeah, it's that bad. If your show is being ignored by non-fans, then it's bad. The point is, Resident Evil rose to the top of the charts briefly after its debut. The most of the time is because word of mouth spreads, right? So people are saying this show is bad, and people are watching it because it's bad, right? If I tell my friends this show is so bad, and those friends are fans of Resident Evil, and I tell them to watch it, they're going to watch it because they like Resident Evil and they want to defend Resident Evil. That's why the numbers are increasing. It needs a lot of viewership to justify its cost. Past that, I don't think Netflix enjoys this current narrative that many of the original productions are low quality. What message does it send when something is very poorly reviewed and is not even a trash reality show at that, but continues to be invested in? Exactly. It's going to be a money pit because no one wants to watch the shit. The one thing that's working in Resident Evil's favor is that Netflix also doesn't like being the service accused of killing shows too soon or not letting them wrap up their storylines, considering pretty much nothing changes or never resolves in Resident Evil Season 1, and it ends on a lot of cliffhangers. That would be another example of a show not finishing its narrative. But given that the showrunner has said he wants to adapt essentially all major parts of the series over a number of years, I'm sure that it would ever be finished or a wonder to cliffhanger. Okay, yeah, I'm having a stroke today. So basically, the showrunner, he helped with the Supernatural. He had 15 seasons, and he says that he wants to beat his record and make this 16 seasons, right? There is a lot to work from, right? Resident Evil has Resident Evil 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it has Code Veronica and the Outbreak games and other off-brand games too. But they're trying to like introduce Leon, Claire, Chris, Jill. Why? You're just going to fuck it up like you did Albert Wesker. They made Albert Wesker in the final two episodes, a joke, right? One, they have different clones versions of himself, right? And then every clone was a joke. It was a joke character. One of the Albert Weskers gets shot in the head by the real Albert Wesker from Resident Evil 5. Boom. Dead. And one of them is the Albert Wesker that we follow in the main game. And then there's another one named L, another one named Bert, right? Yeah, no joke. One of the Weskers' name is L, and the other one is Bert. So Albert, you fucking kidding me? Good joke, guys. Why do you have to name them all Albert Wesker? So here's what I would have did. This is what I would have did. The Albert Wesker that we see in the show that has the 2 daughters is the real Albert Wesker. And you go into this detail of how he's alive later on. Or not even this season, just give hints, right? So this is the one that tried to kill Chris Redfield in the volcano. So you could already establish that he has a hatred for some of the characters, right? Jill, Leon S. Kennedy, Chris Redfield. And then you have a reason for conflicts in the later seasons. But nope, you get rid of all that. Nope, this is a different Albert Wesker. That's what I would have did with that. And then you could have other stories with Billy and Jade Wesker. I would have rather have had Jade Wesker just die. She turns to a zombie, and this story is her trying to accept that she's becoming a zombie over not accept, but try to figure out a cure for becoming a zombie, and she's the reason why New Raccoon City has an outbreak. She get bit by the dog. Albert Wesker's trying to save her and everything, but
that could be the reason why he has 2 daughters, so that way he could set up that he's using their blood for a specific reason, so that way he can stay alive. So he's using his daughters until they find out.
That's what I would have did, or something along those lines. I'm not a writer, so that being said, let's talk about GameSpot's review, which says it's Resident Evil is easily the best adaptation of the Resident Evil franchise yet. So basically, they just talk about that this is the closest adaptation from the games because it mentions some stuff from the games, and the games are connected to this. So right here, I already, and this leaves them as 2036 finds Jade on the run from the evil corporation and studying the infected Zeros. Why are they calling them Zeros? They know what zombies are in this Resident Evil universe. I mentioned it in my last video. Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil Revelations. They all mention zombie. They all mention the word zombie. So why are they calling them Zeros? You guys are jokes. You guys don't know shit about Resident Evil. Oh my god. All right. And they go on. If you, they pretty much just say 2 stories 14 years apart is really good, which it's not. They feel like 2 different shows, and the future story is just to have action in the show, to have people retain their attention span. Newly created character, excellent introduction to this horrible world. Yeah, you mean Billie Eilish. Oh, I'm sorry, Billie Wesker. That's listening to Billie Eilish, and she looks like Billie Eilish, and she is a terrible written character. And you have Jade Wesker, who is first introduced as being a little bitch the entire halfway through the show, through the whole show actually. The video games are used as story backdrop. You mean the main audience that don't like the show, don't know what the hell's going on? Is that what you're talking about? So that's great. Feels like the story that's belonging with the world of Resident Evil. It does not feel like Resident Evil at all. The zombies don't feel like the zombies from Resident Evil. The story doesn't feel like Resident Evil. Are you serious? Umbrella is trying to make a drug to save the world. Are you fucking kidding me? If you're a stickler for canon, certain aspects of the show will be hard to devour. Oh, devour. That's a good joke, bro. A good joke. But yeah, it doesn't feel like Resident Evil at all. Wesker was ruined. They want to bring in the other characters like Jill and etc. They're going to be ruined as well. Then you have Netflix. Netflix is praising it. It gave it a 7 out of 10. It's saying that the fans are butthurt in some of the comments. Look at here. Any of the animated Resident Evil films. Go figure. If it's made with people that actually know what Resident Evil is. Yeah, the Resident Evil is just terrible, man. They have I don't know if I mentioned it or not, because it's my second recording because my mic was off, was that they have a dance-off at the end of season 1 and episode 8. Yeah, dance-off with Evelyn. Like, how good is that? That one of the villains in the thing is so drugged up, and Jade Wesker or Billie Wesker from the future is brainwashing Evelyn, and she makes her dance with the music playing. Yeah, it's that cringe, guys. Resident Evil, the show, Netflix show, does not deserve to be seen the light of day. I hope Resident Evil, the Netflix show, dies, and it's a disgrace to Capcom. I think Capcom should try to make sure they never make a show or a movie again. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, guys. Please remember to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.